do you know if you are getting a good ESL contract? In today's video, I'm going to tell you all the mistakes that I have made since learning about this process working abroad, to include the red flags, mandatory language that you should be expecting on every contract, and questions that you probably need to ask before you put your name on the dotted line. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Leah. If you are interested in what life looks like living and working abroad, this channel's for you. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about everything that I have learned about recognizing a good ESL contract. My very first time teaching abroad was in South Korea in 2016. I was really super eager and super diligent. My initial email had all of the documents, not only my CV, but my passport information, my TOEFL certificate, my degrees. As a result, I had my identity stolen because I didn't recognize the red flag. Let me just say, when you are taking a contract that is literally talking about not only your job, but your life and your health care and your bank setup, visa sponsorship, you should be reading that contract from front to back, whether it's 1 page or 50. I'm gonna share with you everything that I've learned, and the first thing that I'm going to start off with are scams. There are so many scams. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Any public school is regulated and contracted by the government. So if the government has a budget that's gonna pay, let's say $2,000 a month to every teacher, there is no reason that another school would be paying 1.5 times to twice the salary. This also goes for private schools and cram schools. They may pay more, they're still a business. And at the end of the day, their job is to make a profit. They cannot make a profit by opening up several locations across the country that you're interested in, paying double the salary to a teacher. It just doesn't make sense, and more than likely, it is a scam. Recruiter companies or schools asking you to wire them money for processing fees, visa fees, fast track your resume, or to pay them for services. This is not the same as a website like Seek Teachers, where you pay a fee to have access to data that shows you what schools are hiring. I'm talking about the actual school or the actual recruiter asking you to wire them money. Legit recruiters have a contract with the school. They have been paid to find a candidate for their school. So there should be no reason that additional fees are asked of you. If there is a recruiter or a school or someone who reaches out to you that is asking you for electronic copies of all of your paperwork before they give you an interview or before they give you a job offer, this is probably also a scam as well. Your passport number is only unique to you. Your social security number is only unique to you. What they are looking for is access to your data. If you've been offered a contract and you sign the contract, then they will need access to all of that information. I also think that you should look at the grammar. Not every contract that you sign is going to be flawless, because some of these contracts are coming from countries where English is not their native language. But there are things that should be obvious. If you are a professional business submitting a professional contract to me, I would expect to see some effort put into that. If you are seeing a ton of punctuation errors, if misspellings, not capitalized, that's probably something that you need to look out for. If you are taking a job in Tainan, Taiwan, the address on the contract should not say Guangzhou, China. This can be tricky too, because if you're working for a chain school, maybe everything has to go through the parent company, and maybe that parent company literally is in China. See if you can pull up the parent company's name and address to see if they match. See if you can find a registered business number. These are things that should all be accessible on the internet to let you know if you are actually signing a contract with the school or if you're getting scammed. If I find a school that has absolutely no reviews on it, no parent, no previous employers, no tax information, it is a no-go in my book. If you are responding to an email address that is like dragonslayer@hotmail.com, yeah. Follow your instincts. If your gut instinct is telling you something, and no matter how many explanations you've been given or what feedback that you've been given, don't take it. There are too many ESL jobs out there. Just don't take it. Let's move on to what your contract should say. Do not sign a contract that's not in your native language. Your contract should have your full legal name, which sounds like a no-brainer, but I have seen contracts where the person who is signing is referred to as employee A. That leaves all kind of loopholes for everything. Make sure your teaching schedule is explicit. Explicit. Teacher is required to work 40 hours per week. That is not explicit. Why? There are 7 days in a week. If you agree to just 40 hours per week, your school can schedule you at any time to include weekends. Teacher is required to teach 40 hours per week, no more than 880 minutes per week with X amount of desk time, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's explicit. Your overtime rate should be listed on your contract, and you should probably pay attention to the overtime rate. The hourly rate, the number that they are going to be paying you per hour is listed on your contract. You also want to know if your overtime is voluntary or if it is mandatory. If you're taking a contract and you are interested in things like maybe like flight reimbursement, healthcare, usually those contracts are for 1-year contracts. So you want to make sure that if those things are important to you, that your contract is for at least 1 year. So if you take a contract that is less than a year, the school is not obligated to honor those benefits. And some schools will try to get around this by saying, well, we only give out 9-month contracts because school is only 9 months out of the year. Fast forward to this part of the video to find out how you can negotiate a short-term contract that provides no benefits to a 1-year contract that gives you the things that you're asking for. The visa processing. The visa processing can be so incredibly tricky, so I'm going to try to be as thorough as possible. Every ESL teacher in every country has a specific visa that they need to apply for. Do your research to find out what that visa is. It protects you legally, and it also lets the country know that the school that you want to work for is vouching for you coming into their country to do this duty called work or this duty called teaching. Some of the things that some schools can do to forfeit that process is have you apply for a different kind of visa. The issue with that is that if there's ever an inspection or an audit and the authorities see that you are working on a tourist visa, that presents trouble for you. The last thing that I'm going to suggest is that you ask these clarifying questions. Why? Because I am speaking from experience, and it is worth you inconveniencing and getting on these people's nerves just one more time for these itty-bitty questions so that you are well prepared and well informed. If you have a probationary period, when will you have a review? Some schools offer a sign-on bonus or a salary advancement for signing a year contract or longer. It may not be stated in the contract, but you probably need to ask, is it literally a sign-on bonus, or are you expected to pay that back? I had a teacher that was given a sign-on bonus, and it was almost, I think, like 3 months worth of his salary. When he got his first check, half of his check was gone. When he got his second and his third check, they were gone completely. And their definition of sign-on bonus was, when we say sign-on bonus, it's an advancement that we're automatically giving to anyone who's coming into our country between the months of January through March because we really need teachers. So what was essentially a sign-on bonus was a loan. There have been some schools that actually deduct like $10 US for every minute that you are late clocking in. Not only are these practices illegal, a lot of people are not aware that they are illegal and they accept the behavior. Ask if the school practices these policies, and if they do, it's probably not a school that you want to work for. Your lesson plans, these genius thoughts of things that you are creating for your students for the whole year, this program that you came up with to get your little ones to start learning that you realize later you could be making $1 million off of, does that belong to you or does it belong to the school? Most of the time, the lesson plans that you create become the proprietary property of the school that you are working for, and it's no longer yours. Photos and videos. Every country that I have worked in since being abroad has a media department that takes pictures and videos of you interacting with the students, you teaching with the students. And even though it's you, and even though it's your likeness, again, this is probably proprietary property that belongs to the school, and you need to give permission in order to have access to that video. You need to ask if you will be required to work any additional hours outside of regular teaching hours. Examples of this may be like fundraisers, Earth Day, graduation, and open houses. You also want to know if it's mandatory or voluntary that you attend. Is this overtime? Will you be getting paid, or is it expected of you as part of your duties of being an ESL teacher? If it is not listed in your contract, you really need to clarify your time off. My vacation is actually designated by my employer. If you pay taxes in your own country, you need to know how the tax system works in the country that you're at. You might be required to file taxes in both your home country and the country that you're living in. If you are given a contract that is a standard contract, and your school is saying, well, this is a standard contract that all of the teachers sign, that may be true. Therefore, there's information that's in there that cannot be taken out. So maybe an example of that is, well, every teacher signs a 9-month contract, but you want a 12-month contract. They may not be able to pull out that information, but what they can do is add addendums to the current contract. Somebody is available to type up an additional 3 months to equal a 1-year contract. So let's say that everything is perfect in your contract and you've submitted everything. What does it look like being the only English teacher in a small town? I work in a city just like that. 3 different schools a week, 249 students that I only see once a week, and I love it so much that I will never, ever work in a large city. If you want to know what a week in my life looks like, you should check out this video.